Hello, Enneagram and Marriage friends. I'm so glad to have you here with me. I hope you've had a wonderful Mother's Day weekend. I know if you are listening at that time, it is a complex time, my friends. So I hope you got through it beautifully. I hope you had time to soak up with the ones you love and have some great memories about all the meaningful exchanges you've had around your mom or people that nurtured you otherwise. Today, we're talking about when your hormones are costing your health and your family with Dr. Alicia Newsome, type 3. I am so glad you're here for this conversation. All month long, we're kind of kicking into gear with some health self-pres, both. And I have my hot tea with me right now, peppermint, and we talk about matcha, we talk about hormones, we talk about all the things. This episode is for you, your spouse, your partner, whoever can benefit from just getting a check-in with themselves and their energy levels, their hormones, maybe even some of the household things you need to check in on, just to remember at the baseline level that if we don't do checks on those things, we do not bring even close to our best selves in our marriages. So I'm super excited because Dr. Alicia has been featured everywhere. I was reading her newsletter and just so engrossed that I had to ask her on. She's a board certified physician, hormone reset specialist, gut health expert, executive wellness coach, and founder of the hormone research set reset method. And so I'm grateful that she's spending this time with us. And I'm also grateful that she's giving us structure and spaces to move into both emotionally and also physically and tangibly with the hormonal spaces that you're looking at. So she works so well with people because she herself walked the journey of being sleepy and tired wherever she went and not having that pep in her step. And ooh, that just triggers you sometimes when you want to function and achieve. And you guys know you are so savvy that part of the journey will also be learning some restful rhythms, right? Like I actually took some time this weekend to let go for a little while. It felt so good. I could put my projects in people's hands that I trust and got to really release. But picking it back up again does require a certain amount of energy. So I want to just name that with you that if you have meaningful spaces you want to work in, which I know you do, and goals, even if it's the main goal of really being attentive and healthy with your family, then this episode is for you. And all of her information is for you too. So check that out in the show notes. Can't wait to bring her on. Just briefly before she does, the Date Your Spouse package is still on at 90% off. So if you need just a little bit of a fun kick in your marriage, sexual instinct, don't forget that because all the newness, all the creating, it's all there for you. 19 of us have gotten together to put this packet together for you at a very low cost so that you can have a fun summer together. So don't forget that too. It's a great pairing for this episode. And I hope that you have a great time hanging out with Dr. Alicia and I. We'll talk, but let's go ahead and talk to Dr. Alicia first. Dr. Alicia, it is such a joy to have you on the Enneagram and Marriage podcast today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Oh my goodness, we have already had a blast talking about Enneagram. We're going to extend that to you guys
Yeah.
too. But I love hearing about you, your husband, Brandon. Your beautiful work really made us want you on our podcast so badly. Can you tell everybody about you as we talk about all things hormones this month?
Yes. So I am a functional medicine doctor.
Mhm.
And what that means is really like imagine if you were driving down the street and your check engine light comes on and you're like, okay, I've got to take my car into the mechanic. Imagine you get there, you've scheduled your appointment, and then you're explaining to him, my check engine light came on last week. I'm hearing a little rattling noise going on. And he's sitting there taking notes, writing everything down. And
Mhm.
then he reaches into his pocket and he pulls out a sticker and he says, well, that's all you have to do is take this sticker and put it right over that check engine light. That
Oh,
would be crazy, right? You'd
yeah.
expect him to open up the hood, run some diagnostic tests, find out what's going on inside of the car. That check engine light's there for a reason. So, as a functional medicine doctor, I really look at the root cause of what's going on. Like, I don't chase symptoms. It's not
Mm.
even like, you have a headache, you take a Tylenol or an Advil. There's something else going on inside of your body. It's not because you have a Tylenol deficiency, right? there's something else going on under the hood. So, as in
Mm,
functional medicine, we really look at the body from a holistic standpoint and find out
mm,
exactly what's going on. And for me, that's with women that are struggling with low energy, trouble losing weight,
mm,
digestion issues, lots of stress, all of those things. And what
mm.
I do is I help them find out what's going on in their body, and then everything I do is without drugs or surgery.
Oh my goodness, how amazing. And no wonder you have literally been featured everywhere. I am like, oh my gosh, girl, USA Today, ABC,
Oh,
NBC, you are in many, many more. Yale University, you have just gotten so many different places to really understand and let you teach their people. Tell us a little bit more about your Enneagram type and even a little bit about what made you passionate to help others.
so my Enneagram type is a type 3 achiever.
Mhm.
And so there's a lot that we can talk about with that. And you're the expert in that and knowing what's going on. But it really does describe my life a lot,
Mm,
and like the achieving, the helping, the going, like all the things. And we had talked about one thing that the type 3 needs to pay attention to
mhm.
is like making sure that we are not leaving ourselves out of the conversation,
Right.
that we're being authentic,
Mm,
and, we're also showing up for ourselves, and that we're also balancing like having rest and all of those different types of things. And before the show, we had talked about this is crazy, like how my Enneagram is a 3, and then I have a book coming out called Worthy of Rest,
mm.
and a lot of times when we write books, we're writing them for ourselves. It's like our
Mhm.
life and our experiences. So I really
Mm,
had to learn to rest.
right. And it's an ongoing journey for a three. And for any of us who are aggressive, assertive types like myself, as well as the seven, eights, also join us there. But it's really not always intuitive because there's something to
Yeah.
chase, especially for threes, there's a goal to get. And you're very logical and good with getting those goals. And out of working with many, many people over all the types, I have noticed threes don't often feel they need as much sleep and maybe do better than some of the other types on less sleep. There's a lot that could be said for just powering through. But you're
Yeah.
just saying you wrote your book and all these books we talked about you writing ahead for the woman you used to be and for the woman
Yeah.
you've become. So I love that you are sharing from a place of I know what it's like to be that busy woman who is not taking care of herself or man, but just that busy person who's
Yeah.
not getting what they need. Do you feel like that's what a lot of your patients are dealing with too? I'm sure a lot of our listeners can relate.
Yes. Yes. A lot of the times, and this in like the coaching world as well, like we tend to attract people that are going through what we have been through. So for me, my transition like fully into functional medicine was, and I was always like aware of it. I dealt with health issues very much from a very young age, but it
Mm,
wasn't until I was going through a really painful divorce, leaving a
mm,
volatile marriage. I had two little ones, they were still in diapers, and I
mm.
was seeing patients all day.
Yeah.
So I'd be at work, I'm seeing patients,
Mhm.
I'm exhausted all the time. I'm
Mm.
hurry up, go pick my kids up from daycare,
Yeah.
feed them, get them home, and get them in bed because mama needed to sleep. And I was tired all the time. I mean, it wasn't just, on Monday and Tuesday, it was like Wednesday, Thursday,
Yeah.
Friday. The weekend would come, I would be exhausted.
Mm,
After church, we'd head over to someone's house for like a potluck. I sit down on the couch, I fall
mhm,
asleep. They get me a pillow and a blanket. They're like, we got the kids. I was tired all the time. And I ended up meeting a functional medicine doctor that really took me under his wing and helped me understand what was going on with my body and got to the root cause of those issues. So ever since then, my energy's up, my focus, I'm able to produce more, be more productive, which is important to us.
yes,
It
three.
frees, but it's the way God made me, so
Yes.
it's not to for
Mm,
me to try to squash that or, stop
right.
that. I enjoy being productive, but not having my energy really impacted that.
Mm-hmm. And I'm almost picturing you like laying down and this person being like, hello, like I can help you. And you're like, please help me. But like, of course, you probably didn't meet him
Yeah.
while you were taking a nap. We don't meet
Yeah.
people that way. I
I
Why
was I was like in a conference, like drinking like coffee all day, trying to stay awake.
okay, that's more free life. Yes.
Yeah.
You were not fully embracing your type 9 rest quite yet. So, yes, he's going to meet
Yeah,
you at
no.
the conference with coffee. Totally makes sense. You get
Yes.
on the track, you learn, you do the three thing of like, what is happening? Let me figure out the system. And you have, and you've seen such a turnaround and you've shared
Yeah.
so much with us. I think there's a lot of people out here who are dealing with just misconceptions about hormones right now. There's a sense of, I
Yes.
have to do it through surgery, I have to do the really invasive things. What do you wish more women and couples knew about their bodies? Because you did mention it doesn't have to be super invasive.
Yeah. The thing is that right now there's just like a big push, like you said, like towards surgeries and HRT and like all of these things. And those things can have their place, but
Mhm.
they're not just the like blanket solution for most people. We've got to deal with like why are these symptoms coming up? And when you think about like when my daughters, they're teenagers now, when they
Mhm.
were younger and they hadn't started their periods yet,
Mhm.
I was not thinking in my mind like we got to get these girls some estrogen. Like how are they going to function without estrogen? God really created our bodies to there's cycles and there's seasons and there's times where certain hormones are not needed at this time because we're not making babies. And then we go through the time where, we're having menstrual cycles and then we go into perimenopause and menopause.
Mhm.
And we're not expected to have hormones at the same levels that we had them before. So I think that's a big misconception right now. Like we are
You need
literally,
to function like three all the time, like productive, like whatever stage you're in, you need to be on just as though you were in that season. Interesting.
yes, yes. And also, when we go through perimenopause and into menopause,
Mhm.
our ovaries are like, okay, we're not going to produce any progesterone and estrogen anymore, but our adrenal glands, when everything's functioning properly, pick up and they produce those hormones. But if our body's been under chronic stress for years and years and years, it won't do that.
Mm.
So think about if you were, in the forest and there's a bear coming after you.
Mhm.
Our stress hormones were only meant for short-term stress. So what our bodies would do in that situation, it would go into a state of fight or flight
Mhm.
where we are going to fight to get rid of that bear or we're going to run away.
Mhm.
After we are back in safety, our body goes into a parasympathetic state,
Mhm.
rest and digest.
Yeah.
And right now we live in a state, culturally where we are in chronic stress. The bear is always there, even though there's not a real bear.
Yeah.
Physiologically, our body's responding to stress
Mm.
all the time. And
Mm.
when you think about it, if there was a bear coming after you, the last thing your body would think is like, now's a good time to make a baby. Right. And
Mm.
even though, women, especially when you're, 40s, 50s, 60s, you're not thinking about having babies. Right.
Right.
Still physiologically, you need those hormones and you need them to function properly and ebb and flow throughout the month so that you feel good.
Mhm.
So the real thing is to deal with the stressors that are present. And it's not always just mental, emotional stressors that we think about with
Yeah.
relationships, finances, work, kids, those types of things.
Mhm.
And for me, with the clients I work with as a functional medicine doctor, I can't take away your problems, right?
Mhm.
But I can help your body be able to adapt better to stress. So we want to identify the things that are going on mentally, emotionally, stress, and how your body's adapting, but then also the other stressors that are impacting your body that you don't typically think about as stress. And the thing is that stress activates your adrenal glands. It sends them into overdrive, and then that impacts and weakens your immune system. So everything's connected our hormones, our immune system, our neurology, it's all connected. And there's a couple other areas that are really important to look at, like toxins.
Mhm.
So, toxins come in two forms there's biotoxins, and then there's environmental toxins. Biotoxins are living things like mold that could be in your house.
Mhm.
Then, inside of your body, they create their own toxins called mycotoxins. So, there's mold, fungus, parasites, bacteria, viruses. These are things that are living inside of your body,
Mhm.
pulling on your nutrients, disrupting your gut, creating all type of hormonal chaos. And then there's external toxins that disrupt your hormones too,
Mhm.
pesticides that are sprayed on your food. Um,
Mhm.
Medications have toxic side effects, EMF. Uh, skincare products, all of those different types of things can disrupt your hormones and put your body in a state of stress. And
Wow.
then there's different types of deficiency. So not getting enough food. And I mean, there's plenty of food around, but the food that we need as far as our vitamins, minerals, amino acids, getting enough protein and good fats. Not having that is stressful on the body. The body doesn't feel safe. It's
Wow.
like, is she going to feed me?
Yeah.
So the body
Mm.
is stressed. Gut issues. Our gut has 10 times the amount of nerves going from the gut to the brain that it does leaving
Mm.
out from our entire peripheral nervous system. So, what's going on with our gut if you're having trouble going to the bathroom or you have
Mm.
diarrhea, you're bloating after eating? Some people bloat and they're like, I only drink water. There's things going on in your gut that's stressing your body out. And then, of course, not getting enough sleep as well, too. And a lot of times that can be connected to hormonal issues that need to be addressed. But our bodies really need that time to be able to rest, get good deep REM sleep, all of that as well too. So those are other
Mm.
stressors that a lot of times we don't even think about. We're just living and then we think it's normal. The check engine lights going off. We're tired. We're bloated. We can't lose weight. All of those different types of things. But those are still stressors on the body that are impacting our hormones.
And that's fascinating that you're saying stress, but it's the stress you carry from your family and your spouse or whatever's going on with your kids, but also just the stresses you might not even realize in your makeup or on your
Yeah.
windowsill if you've got mold growing. And I
Yeah.
love how you're reminding everyone to do a full wellness check. And you
Yes.
gave us a lot of reminders about protein and such with food. I think those are really good. And then you
Yeah.
also just named something I think many of us deal with, myself included. In fact, I had a stomach ache earlier this week, and I go, "You were stressed, and then you had a stomach ache." And so you
Yeah.
reminded us that in our digestive system, we are actually having these neurons to also tell us, "Hey, make sure you do this because you've got this bear in the brain and you got to get free,"
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
so, what can we do when we're like, oh no, I am stressed? I got a hard call from a child's teacher, or my spouse said something that really was wild and I have to process that. Like, is there something you recommend when your I almost said customers, but your patients come in and say, hey, I'm really looking for help, but it isn't just the outside things. It's my family, it's my turmoil. What do you help them with there?
Yeah. So I'm really a big advocate of like going within, and
Mm,
seeing what's coming up for us. Because a lot of times our thoughts and then like where we go with our thoughts create more
mhm,
stress for us.
mm,
And for me, and maybe it is because I've been a type 3 and this is part of my process.
yeah.
I've really learned to go within. So when there's something stressful going on, I've learned to pause and like pay attention to like how am I feeling? And feelings are one word. I feel sad, I feel angry, I'm frustrated, paying attention to what's coming up. And then sometimes there's a little trigger there as well that's stressing me where I might now feel like I might not initially verbalize it like I'm not safe, or there might be something that's hitting on my self-esteem where I don't feel good enough, you know. Um
Mhm.
or any of those types of things, right? So I pay attention to what's going on there and I don't make decisions or have conversations when I'm in that space. I have to first be with what's coming up and almost mother myself. Like if my child came to me and they were stressed out about something and they were sad and they felt rejected, I wouldn't just blow it off and just be like, okay, well, keep getting your things done. I
Yeah.
I would tell her the truth about herself. I would acknowledge like I see that you're sad
Mm,
and I know that hurt.
mhm.
And then if there's something in that thinking like I'm not good enough or
Yeah.
I'm not safe or whatever it is, I would remind her of what the truth is, like, yeah,
Mm,
baby, you are safe. Like you, oh my goodness, you are more than enough,
mm,
right? Like you
mm.
don't have to prove yourself.
Oh,
And I do that with myself though, almost like mothering myself
I love.
and really before I take any action, right? Because if there's that
Mm,
little girl inside of me who's 8 years old, who's triggered, and
yeah.
feels like she's not enough, and she's
Mhm,
out here, I always say, driving the car,
mhm,
I don't want her driving the car in my life. I want to be able to be like, okay, let me recenter myself. I call it my center of truth So getting myself back into like what the truth is. And
Ooh.
for some of us that are
Mhm.
Christians, it's like the truth, what God says about me, like all things
Mhm.
are working out for my good, like my steps are ordered, like
Yes.
whatever that is that you need to get yourself centered into truth.
Mhm.
And then, have the older version, the now version of you who's very resourceful, who's incredibly intelligent, make that next step. And then I kind of like in the analogy of the 8-year-old driving the car, I'm like, put her in the back seat, like, here's some crayons.
Mhm. Mhm.
We've got this.
Mhm.
And make decisions from there. That's really important versus kind of like spiraling throughout the rest of the day. Just
Oh,
really just
yes.
taking a
Yes.
couple minutes
Mhm.
to like, okay, let me be with what's coming up right here that's like got me so stressed.
Yes, and I love how, like, in Myers-Briggs language, a different test we use sometimes, they actually have the car model of, let the different part of
Oh.
you get into the driver's and passenger seat. Let one part parent you, one part be the lead, and then those others in the back seat, they don't get as much attention, and we
Ooh.
need to grow them up. And that's sort of what you're doing is you're saying, hey, first of all, get in the back seat, but also like it's your turn because you have a
Yeah.
child that I don't want to listen to as much as the healthy adult part of me. Yes, what do you have to say? And let me comfort you. And I love what you just named because living in an American three culture, and I know our listeners are all over the world, but especially if you're in a country like this, the tendency for me lately, I've been watching it, right? I'm therapeutic, so I understand when it's happening, but I haven't even really enunciated to myself. I'll be working on tasks and then I'll go, oh, I see that. I see that part of me that needs attention. I'll make sure to
Yeah.
get to it in a little while because I've
Yeah.
got some good energy right now. And then, I'm drinking a Starbucks, forgetting about it, like, woo,
Yeah.
listening to the radio with my daughter, and
Yeah.
it's gone and it's still
Yeah.
there. So I
Yeah.
really like how you said this is a part of us that we need to address when it happens. Maybe you're with a patient in that moment or something you can't do at that second. But what I hear you saying, at least I think so, is don't put it off, put it toward the front because our bodies feel unsafe. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. A lot of it all comes back to safety, and then
Yes.
physiologically, how that impacts our adrenal glands and our immune system and our hormones.
Okay, so it's all connected. The hormones are connected with the stress and
Yes.
not just through the food. It's also through how we're doing the self-talk. By the way, as a three, I love that you come to that place of truth because the virtue for three is coming into veracity or truth. So it's really beautiful.
Oh, I
And
love this.
yeah, me
You
too.
make me
I'm
want to
like, oh,
dig deeper into all of this. And then you brought up the Myers-Briggs. I'm like, oh, I need to
yes.
go down these rabbit
Another
holes.
one. Yeah, if you tell me your
Yeah.
Myers-Briggs, I'll send you that. But I also have a
Okay.
deeper dive type 3 guide that I think you'd love. And we can find
Okay.
out Brandon's type sometime too. But in the meantime, when listeners are feeling like, okay, I'm going to do that, I'm going to take that step. But they're saying, I feel so drained. Do you feel like that's the main thing is look outside for the toxins, look inside for the toxic thoughts? Or do you think sometimes in the marriage, even there's places and spaces they might be able to work because they're like, ooh, I see us both rubbing up against each other. And I know probably many
Yeah.
of your patients have told you that.
Yeah. Marriage is a big one. So, I'm a big advocate in communication, and as simple as that sounds, like, of
Yeah.
course we communicate, but also how we're
Oh,
communicating
yeah. Especially
is
around
very,
hormones. Yeah.
yes, yes, very important. And my husband and I just have ways in which it's like I can let him know, like, okay, I'm needing some support right now, or
Mhm.
like my well-being, like I've kind of pushed it to the side.
Mhm.
Or when there is conflict that comes up, I
Mhm.
have learned to navigate it differently versus like just telling him what's on my mind,
Yeah.
and like what he needs to fix or change.
Right.
One thing I do always do is I always go within first and see if there's something inside of me that doesn't actually require him. Like it may be
Mhm.
I'm triggered and I know in, my previous marriage and
Mhm.
previous relationships, like I was going to them to like fix whatever was coming up inside of me, right? Like I'm
Mhm.
needing something from them, but it was really like healing that I needed
That's amazing.
within from God
Mhm.
to deal with maybe a broken part of me. And I don't like to say broken, you know, maybe
Right, because it
fractured,
wasn't, yeah, it
you
wasn't
know.
healthy yet. Yeah.
Yeah. So I always go there first. And then I have been much better in my later years with also praying about it first as well too. I think it's for
Oh.
me, and maybe it's with my type 3 now. I'm so interested in type 3. I used to always feel like very anxious that we got to talk about this now. Like we got to fix this
Yeah.
and all of that. So I've learned to like calm myself. And then so when I'm talking to him, it's more in a partnership language,
Mm.
and
Mm.
also bringing me into the conversation as well, because historically I would always leave me out, like what I needed, what I wanted,
Mhm.
what I thought as well. So I've learned to navigate that differently.
I'm really glad. And there's so many people who, whether they're the nine peacemaker that we know you actually go toward the rest and when you're doing the healthy move, or maybe it's the heart type 2, 3, or 4. Many people listening tend to do that bypass of self. And of course, we
Mm,
are taught love others, but it's love others as
yeah.
you love yourself.
Yes, I
And so
always say that.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah, you're
yes,
like, I honestly feel like a lot of people don't know that about threes. Again, they see you guys achieving and getting all of it out there, and they're like, there's this assumption, oh, you're just absolutely making sure that you get your voice of truth out there for yourself too. And that's a journey because I think a lot of threes believe I have to achieve in order to be loved. So
yeah,
they're chasing that versus actually saying, what do I need internally? Can I take it to God in prayer? Can I not be codependent on my partner?
yes.
And learning that, I mean, it's not like any of us are going to do that perfectly no matter our type, but like, do you feel like that's balanced you out so much better in your relationship too?
Oh yeah, especially when you talk about that codependency,
Hmm.
that part of just when I met my husband before that, I did a lot of like inner work before like meeting him, and especially having been married before. But I
Hmm.
found that in previous relationships, I was always choosing men that like I became their coach, I became their mother, I became their teacher, like all of these things. So I had to pay attention to like how I was choosing. And sometimes it would be like the same person, just a
Yeah.
different body, right?
Yeah.
And I'm
Mhm.
choosing people that then it creates I'm co-creating toxic dynamics here,
Mm.
where it's
Mhm.
just where he doesn't care about my needs, and then I'm
Yeah.
like teaching him my needs aren't important, and
Right.
then like situations going on in their life, I step in and then I'm teaching, I'm coaching, I'm their mother, like all these things. So I had to really pay attention to how I was choosing. So even when I met my husband, I considered it like a data collection time. Like I'm collecting data
Mhm.
here, seeing how he responds, how he shows up when I say, well, this is what I need, or this is what I want, or this is what I like. These are my preferences, giving that space
Mm.
to see if he'll show up for that. So that was really a big shift in me, especially even when I was dating as well.
Mm. That is nice. And you're not becoming what we've talked about on this podcast recently that a lot of people related with. You're not doing the over functioning that we're taught in a
Yeah.
relationship as a woman. Like, I mean, I was sharing examples of me doing that to this day sometimes still. Like, oh, well, not giving my husband the address because I know he'll need it right at 6 o'clock and he might not see it otherwise. And then, oh my gosh, you found it even though you didn't get it. Like, how did you find it? He's like, we figured it out.
Like
It's
I'm
like,
a whole
okay.
grown up too.
And
Yep.
he's like, okay, like, thanks for your faith in me. And so, like, I guess I'm just naming, like, I see in the family system, how beautiful that is when people also feel supported when you do back off a little and you don't overtake. Or as a three, the tendency can be often to mirror, oh, you're like this. I've seen people that are
Oh
threes
yeah.
take on accents of others, which we all do a little, but like, sometimes they're actually actors, so they're like, that's also my job. But like, let's say they took on
Yeah.
Michael Hyatt, one of the biggest life coaches in the world, as a three, and he said, I took on my father's limp. It's like so fascinating that you separated yourself out and you found that your relationships were better. And I get it that you're saying then our hormones feel less stressed. And so that makes so much sense. And for those people who think my hormones are off, would you say first get them tested, or would you say first figure out how you can start having some healthy inner dialogue? What do you usually use for a first step?
For first step, usually when people work with me, and I work with people all over the country, all over the world. And what I love now is, especially with technology and all of these things, initially we would always have like a consultation, right? But what I found with myself and then also with the women that I work with, no one needs an extra meeting on their calendar. Like, who needs another meeting? No one.
Yeah, right.
Right? So now what I do is I do a very comprehensive intake. And when someone signs up to work with me, the first step is to put together their action plan because it's very different for people. So they're dropped into a private portal with me. We can video each other or send a quick message or an audio message. A lot of times, have you been to the doctor and you fill out the forms and you even have a consultation? And then when you leave, you're like, oh, I wish I would have told her that. You
Yeah.
know, that it's created in this space where it works for everybody's schedule. You fill out the forms at your convenience, upload your labs. I ask follow-up questions. You can also say, "Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you this." And then I put together an action plan for people. And it's very different. Sometimes it will include emotional work. A lot of times it includes testing. In functional medicine, we test, we do a lot of advanced lab testing that goes beyond just traditional labs. So I'm a big advocate of test, don't guess. We want to get a complete picture of what's going on with you. It could include targeted supplementation or nutrition, lifestyle things as well. It's very, very much customized. Most people, when they fill out my forms, I mean, it takes a good 45 minutes to complete them. And there's like hundreds of questions there, but I'm looking at everything going on because it's so different for everyone.
You're like, you're important and I don't want to miss this.
Yes. Yes,
Oh my
exactly.
goodness. And that's what I want listeners
Yeah.
to hear when you are feeling that, like, oh my gosh, I need to do this, but I don't have the 45 minutes. But remind them what
Yeah.
they're losing if they don't take that time.
Yes. I mean, if you don't take that time, then it turns into another week, another month, another year of you spinning your wheels, not feeling like yourself, not having the energy that you need, probably snapping off on people in your relationships and feeling
Mm,
moody, maybe not as confident because there may be things with weight loss resistance where you're not able to lose the weight that you want. You don't understand what's
mm,
going on, not even being able to enjoy good foods, it's like without having digestive upset. So there is a cost to continually putting these things off. And then when we look at statistics,
mm,
um, the first sign of a heart attack, 50% of the time is the heart attack. The other
mm.
50% of the times there's these early beginning, it's called beginnings,
Yeah.
beginning sign. That's the medical term. That's the check engine light going off.
Mm,
And that the chronic disease in our country is crazy. People spend
mm,
the last 10, 20 years of their life just slowly dying.
mm.
And for me,
Yeah.
I want to be the grandma who can get on the floor with my grandkids, go up the stairs by myself, use the bathroom by myself, do all of those types of things. And
Yeah.
the more that we put off our health and these very important things, like we just, how we said, even like our emotions, we're like, I'll deal with that later.
Yeah.
My health, I'll get to that. A lot of times something drastic happens and they say you can have 1,000 problems, but once you have a health problem, you've got one problem. And that becomes your
Mm,
entire focus. And then there's all the specialists you have to see and all these different things when you could really just stop now and address what's going on at the root,
mm.
not spend a lot of time, energy, money doing things that don't work, or is just that sticker going over that check engine light, a bunch of band-aid approaches that aren't working.
And I think that's really good that you said that for this reason too, that like sometimes you can be like, oh, well, like I said, I got that matcha today, or I did this one massage, and these are awesome.
Yeah.
And you're not saying stop that. You're just
Mm-mm.
saying that's a band-aid. And it's a short-term, beautiful band-aid, right? We do like that band-aid because it
And
makes
I
you
love my
water.
matcha. I have a matcha almost every day.
That's so good
I
for
make
you.
it at home with boba and everything.
I love matcha too, girl. And I heard
Yeah.
it was really good for hormones. My daughter told me.
Yeah. 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 The green tea.
So it's a
Yes.
good thing to get that massage or the all these great things we're saying, but you're just saying if you don't really know what's going on functionally, if there is a problem, you do need
Yeah.
that root. And so is this for anybody who's across the USA, or how can they reach you in your practice, or maybe recommended referrals from you if they're not in your area?
Yes. So I work with people all over the country, all over the world.
Oh, so
So there's
wonderful.
nothing, stopping you in that regards.
Oh, okay. When
Yep.
you said world, I didn't know if you meant like, but you actually like, yeah, even
I
some of
have
your
clients
patients.
all the way in Uganda and the UK and everything. So even with testing, we can get that shipped to you, shipped back. With everyone, we get it shipped to your home. You collect at home. If we do need a blood draw, we send someone to your house. That's the only thing with the some of the other countries.
Yeah.
We may need to do like a finger prick or something like that to get the blood.
Mhm.
But anyways, it's all very simple. Your all your data, your collections get shipped back to the lab, and I'm able to get your reports and see what's going on with your body. So very simple. No matter where you are at in the world, the
Mm.
best way to connect with me, my website is dralicianewsome.com. When you go there, you can just click on like work with me or, book a consultation. But our consultations are like no appointment consultations. So you're able to drop in with me and I work with you one on one in that portal. All my social media contact is my name. So Dr. Alicia Newsome, that's on Instagram and LinkedIn and YouTube and all the places you can find me there.
Wow, this has been so helpful, and you have just made me feel so safe, which, as you said earlier,
Oh,
is the goal. So thank you.
yeah.
I feel
Oh,
very trusting, and like I was like, hormones are so big, so we have to have a
yes.
really good person on for this month. So thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I've loved this conversation. My undergrad degrees in psychology, and I'm always like, I went the other route, a different
Oh,
route, but I am so passionate about the work that you do. I just love these kind of conversations. So this has just completely made my day.
I'm so glad. Well, I'm
Yeah.
gonna send you your Enneagram stuff, and thank you so
Okay.
much. Everything of
Yeah.
yours is in the show notes too. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Dr. Alicia.
Thank you.
Thank you again for listening with us. It was so wonderful to have you. I love knowing we're doing this journey together, not perfectly, but with love, grace, and hopefully some fun too. If you loved today's episode, make sure you leave us a 5-star review at Apple Podcast or Spotify so others can find it too. Visit our show notes so you can get all the links from today's show, as well as enneagramandmarriage.com, the Instagram, the Facebook, and all over the place. Make sure you spread the word. Love living intentionally with you. Bye-bye.